Necessary for the economy. Clearly, Heathrow itself has been a benefit to the economy, but the crucial question is expansion of Heathrow essential for the health of the UK economy? Ruth Kelly says it is. She hasn't produced any convincing evidence. We remain to be convinced. A Chamber of Commerce survey in 2006 said that 78% of business in London were against the expansion of Heathrow because they're in London primarily for other reasons, not the expansion of Heathrow. They like the low tax regime here, etc.
OK, Paul Stewart. Paul Charles, sorry, forgive me.
There's no doubt that an extra runway would deliver the economic benefits. We can either stand still as a country and indeed go backwards because we wouldn't be able to compete with our colleagues in Europe, France, Germany and other countries who are expanding and building more runways, or we can actually grow more and get more jobs. And that's the choice that's really facing this country. If it wants to go backwards and not compete, let's not build that runway. But frankly, the runway is needed because this country's main airport is seizing up.
It's interesting, isn't it, Mr. Stewart, when you hear from an organisation like BALPA, the British Airline Pilots Association, and they're saying that aircrafts are really only a minor polluter in comparison to other forms of transport. And we hear also from the International Air Transport Association, they're telling us that aircraft noise has been reduced by 75% over the last 30 years and fuel efficiency has increased by 70%. It does look as though the airlines are doing their best to try to improve their emissions and reduce them as much as they can.
They're doing something, but on noise, the government's own report, the NASI report, came out, the first report for 20 years, 2 weeks ago, and it showed that people in London and elsewhere are more disturbed now than ever before by noise. They also show that the government's figure of where people start to get disturbed by noise, which they keep using, 57 decibels, doesn't tally with how people actually hear noise, nor does it tally with the World Health Organization. In London alone, according to a GLA survey, over 400,000 people are disturbed by noise. That's the size of a small city. Although the industry is doing something, it's nothing like good enough. And for Ruth Kelly to suggest that if flights increase from 473,000 they were last year to 720,000 and noise levels are not going to increase, I believe that's Ruth Kelly in Wonderland.
A couple of points there to deal with, Paul Charles. Electricity generation, let's think about that. They are stabilising or reducing their emissions. Carbon emissions, as far as airlines are concerned, are 7% here in the UK at the moment, likely to increase to 25% over the coming decade. And as far as noise pollution is concerned, there's evidence that kids under the flight path leading up to Heathrow are impaired in their reading as a result of the noise. And the British Airports Authority doesn't seem to want to do very much about it.
Well, lots of people and lots of us live under flight paths, and clearly noise is an issue that the whole industry has got to take very seriously. Let's face the fact that this runway, if it's built, would actually appear not before 2020. So we are 13 to 14 years away from seeing that runway at Heathrow. By then, you will see planes that are 60% quieter, you will see aircraft emitting up to 30% less, and that's before we even talk about the next generation that's going to appear in 10 years' time. So we are looking at not a runway that's going to appear tomorrow, but actually something much further out, and that's why the whole aviation industry has got to produce and is working on those planes of the future. I think in terms of emissions themselves, let's be clear here, there is a cap on the emissions and on the noise levels that relate to this runway being built. Quite rightly, the government has laid down environmental criteria, which is pretty challenging for us as airlines and for BAA to have to meet. When those criteria are met, that runway will pass a test and be allowed to be built. And everyone in the industry is working as hard as they can on the technology that will be the solution to building this runway.
OK, gentlemen, I know we could talk about this for a very long time. Hopefully you'll come and debate it with us again. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. Thank you both for joining us on Afternoon Live. If you've got a thought on that.